This is Gabe Salazar. He's 37 years old and he's tall with brown hair and brown eyes. Gabe is American, but his parents and grandparents aren't. They're from Turkey. A lot of Gabe's uncles, aunts and cousins still live there. But Gabe lives in Los Angeles, California, with his wife and children. Gabe's wife is called Nancy. She's also 37. She isn't very tall and she has long brown hair and brown eyes. She isn't from LA. She's from San Antonio, Texas. A lot of her uncles, aunts and cousins still live there. Gabe and Nancy have got 4 children. David, Gabe Jr., Michelle, and Susie. The Salazar family are all hard-working, and they usually do the housework together. At the moment, they're cooking the dinner in the kitchen. But they don't stay inside for long. It's summer in LA, and the weather is warm and sunny. At this time of year, the family cook their food on the barbecue and they set the table outside. They share their food and they talk about their day. They're all very friendly, so they chat a lot. The children are nice and polite, but they are also very talkative. David and Michelle are almost the same age, so they aren't just brother and sister, they're friends too. The Salazar family spend a lot of time together. On Saturdays, Gabe and David go to the beach because David loves surfing. Susie and Michelle don't like surfing, and Gabe Jr. is very young, so he's frightened of the water. But David surfs all the time, and he's very good at it. Los Angeles is famous for its long, sandy beaches, so there are lots of places to surf. Today, David has a new surfboard, and he's very excited about it. But Gabe doesn't get into the water. He sits on the beach and watches David practice. It's a great way to spend time with his son. The Salazars are a typical American family, and they really enjoy the time they spend together. The University of Cambridge is famous all over the world. It's over 800 years old and shares a lot of things with the University of Oxford, the UK's other ancient university. Today, Cambridge has 18,000 students, 9,000 staff, and 31 colleges. Many of these colleges are very old, and students here do all kinds of subjects like English, maths, history, and science. Pembroke College is over 650 years old. The building isn't as old as that, but it's still in the same location. Today, there are around 500 students here. King's College is around 550 years old and is one of the university's most famous colleges. For many people, its chapel is a symbol of the university. Trinity College is around 475 years old. It has around 600 undergraduates, 300 graduates, and 180 fellows. A fellow is a teacher at the university. Students don't have to live in these colleges, but they often do. In the colleges, students' rooms are near the classrooms, so students don't have to get up early. They can just get dressed, eat breakfast, and go straight to their lecture. It's very convenient. They enjoy the many traditions too. In some colleges, students have to wear long black gowns when they have dinner, and they sometimes have to wear them during exams too. Another famous Cambridge tradition is punting. Behind Trinity College and King's College is the River Cam, and tourists often go punting here. They push a long flat boat, a punt, with a large stick along a part of the river called the Backs. There are fantastic views of a lot of the colleges here. All of these colleges are different, but together they all make up the university. The University of Cambridge has a fantastic reputation. It's one of the top universities in the UK, and people come from all over the world to study here. Past Cambridge students include Prince Charles, the actor Ian McKellen, and the scientists Francis Crick and James Watson, the discoverers of DNA. Cambridge is a great place to study, and it's a fantastic place to live. Teenagers spend their money on all kinds of things, like food, computer games, and clothes. But this isn't easy because teenagers want fashionable clothes that are expensive. However, most teenagers don't have a lot of money. This is a shop called Trade in North London. The customers here today are shopping for clothes and accessories. But this shop doesn't sell new clothes. These clothes are second-hand. Teenagers don't usually buy second-hand clothes because they are often old and boring. But Trade sells its own brand of clothing called Trade Remade. These trousers, shirts, skirts, jackets, and shoes are different to normal old clothes. They're stylish and individual. This is Zoe. She works for Trade, but she isn't working in the shop. She's working 90 kilometres away in a studio in Brighton.
My name is Zoe. I make clothes for Trade Remade and I live in Brighton.
She makes new clothes from second-hand clothes. She's young and she knows what teenagers like. So she turns old, unfashionable clothes into stylish new outfits. This smart shirt is now a dress. And this man's formal shirt is now a new blouse. Zoe makes all kinds of clothes, and they're always interesting.
We make skirts and dresses and shirts, and for the winter we also make jumpers and sweatshirts.
Today, Zoe is making some blue skirts from some old fabric. She's sewing the fabric together to create a short skirt. She really enjoys this part of her job, and she often makes 5 new items of clothing every day.
I like that I can spend all day sewing.
For young people, new clothes are often expensive, and old clothes are unfashionable. But trade offers new styles that aren't very expensive. So teenagers can look stylish and they don't need to spend much money. This is a farmer's market in Winchester, a small town in the south of England. There's a lot of food here. There are carrots, cauliflowers, tomatoes, beef, sausages, cheese, pies, and jam. But there isn't any food from other countries because all of the food is British. In fact, there isn't much food from other towns. All of the businesses here have to be from the local area. The local farmers sell their meat and vegetables. The local bakers sell their bread and cakes. And the local cheesemakers sell their cheese. But why is this important? In shops and supermarkets, the food often travels a few hundred kilometers from the producer to the warehouse to the shop. And when it reaches the customer, it's often old. But here, the same person makes and sells the food, so it's always fresh. It's usually quite cheap too. It doesn't cost much money because the seller doesn't need expensive equipment. But the work isn't always easy. This is Lyburn Farm. They make cheese and they sell it at lots of different local markets. It's a family business near Winchester. Every morning, the Lyburn family milk the cows and collect the milk. When they have enough milk, they store it, but they don't have much time. They need to heat the milk and add something called rennet, which quickly turns the milk into curds and whey. When they have enough curds, the hard part of the milk, they use it to make cheese. Then they keep the cheese in a small room for 3 months. And when it's ready, They sell it at the market. It's an excellent example of the fresh, local food available at many of the farmers' markets like this across the country. Manhattan is one of the best-known places in the world. It appears in thousands of films and TV shows, and there are famous locations all over the city. There's Central Park, a huge park with a zoo in the middle of Manhattan. There's the Guggenheim Museum, a world-famous modern art museum. And there's Times Square, the center of Manhattan's theater district. Many of New York's incredible landmarks are in Manhattan, including the Empire State Building. The Empire State is in Midtown Manhattan, an area full of luxury hotels and expensive shopping centers. It's on the corner of 5th Avenue and 34th Street. It's over 85 years old, and it's an excellent example of the Art Deco style of architecture popular during the 1930s. It takes its name from the nickname for the state of New York, the Empire State. And today, it is the best-known skyscraper in the city. But it isn't the biggest building. There are several taller structures in New York City. The Empire State is 381 meters high, 443 meters with the radio tower at the top. So it's 100 meters shorter than the tallest building in New York, the One World Trade Center. However, it is one of the oldest buildings, and it's certainly the most iconic. A lot of movies feature the Empire State, and one of the most famous is King Kong. The film ends with the famous movie monster on top of the Empire State, one of the most famous scenes in cinema history. Today, the building is one of the city's most popular tourist attractions, and every day, thousands of tourists come here. They take the elevator to the top. It's easier than the 1,860 steps, and it takes less than a minute. At the top, there are 2 viewing platforms, one on the 86th floor and one on the 102nd floor. They have 360-degree views of the entire city. The only thing tourists don't see from here is the building itself. But that's okay. There are great views of the Empire State from all over the city. This is the Grand Canyon, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. It's a huge national park in Arizona, in the southwest of the United States. It's incredibly beautiful. Red sand covers the ground for miles, and it looks like nowhere else on the planet. The views of the mountains, the sky, and the clouds are incredible. It's a fantastic place to watch the sunset or the sunrise. The Grand Canyon is one of the biggest canyons in the world. It follows the path of the Colorado River. It's 434 kilometers long, and the widest point is more than 30 kilometers across. In some places, the canyon's walls are over a kilometer deep. Experts say the canyon is around 17 million years old. It's mostly a desert, but the water from the river means there is life. There are trees and flowers, and the first humans arrived more than 11,000 years ago. For centuries, several local Native American tribes lived and hunted here. In 1919, the US government named the area a national park. So it had special protection, and people couldn't build here. Today, it's one of the most popular tourist attractions in the world. Last year, over 4 million people visited the park. They enjoyed the views over the canyon and visited the local sites. This is the Desert View Watchtower. This 70-foot watchtower is over 80 years old, and some of the best views of the desert are from here. These are the Tusayan ruins, just 3 miles west of Desert View. It's one of the most important archaeological sites in the country. Experts believe people lived here over 800 years ago, and it's one of the oldest settlements in the area. The Grand Canyon is an ancient place. Very few people live here now, but millions still come to enjoy the spectacular views. Before the 19th century, many patients died after operations. Surgeons didn't wash their hands between operations, and hospitals were not clean places. They were full of germs, very small living things which often carried diseases. Joseph Lister was a famous British surgeon. He invented antiseptic surgery. This meant that doctors could kill many of the germs on themselves and their tools. It changed surgery forever. Lister was born near London in 1827. He studied medicine at University College London, and after that moved to Scotland to work as a surgeon. To start off with, he worked in Glasgow, but later he moved to Edinburgh to work as the professor of surgery at the city's university. This is St Thomas's Church in London. It was part of an old hospital and still has an original operating theatre. At that time, surgery was very different from the operations we know today. There were no drugs to help you sleep during the operation, so the patient lay, awake, on a wooden table like this. The surgeon used a variety of instruments. Most of these weren't clean because doctors and surgeons didn't understand the danger of germs. Even Even their clothes were still dirty with other patients' blood. Most operations were terrifying and painful, and patients often died. Lister wanted to improve the situation, but he didn't find the answer in a book or even in a hospital. He found it in the countryside. At that time, farmers used carbolic acid to treat a common disease in cows. First of all, Lister mixed the carbolic acid with water, creating the first antiseptic. Next, he cleaned all his instruments and his clothes with the antiseptic. Finally, he used the new, clean instruments in his surgery. The results were amazing. Before he started using antiseptics, around 45% of Lister's patients died during surgery. After he introduced antiseptics, only 15% of his patients died. Soon, all surgeons used antiseptics in surgery. Today, we know that germs are dangerous, and it's important to be clean. All surgeons wash their hands with antiseptic liquid. They wear clean clothes and face masks so they don't carry germs into the operating theatre. The theatre itself doesn't have any germs because staff members clean the equipment with antiseptics before and after each operation. Lister's work changed surgery forever, and today, over a century after his death, his antiseptics are still saving lives. In countries all over the world, children and teenagers want to become professional footballers. But it isn't easy. They have to start when they are young, and they have to practice a lot. Even then, most people won't make it. Some won't have enough time to play. Some will play other sports, and some simply won't be good enough. But a lucky few will go to football academies. It's a great achievement. They will play football every day and learn about life as a professional footballer. This is the Oxford United Football Training Academy. The students here are all between 16 and 19, and they are all very talented footballers. But they don't spend all their time on the pitch. They spend a lot of it in the classroom too. It's 9 o'clock in the morning and the school day is just starting. In this morning's class, they are going to study science. And at the end of the class, they are going to give a presentation on the human body. They need to understand how their muscles and bones work together and how they connect to the brain. This is very important because athletes need to understand their bodies in order to keep fit and healthy. It's useful knowledge too. Some of these students aren't going to become professional footballers, but they will be able to use this education in other professions. After class, they go to the gym. Here they follow a special routine. They exercise on different machines and build different muscles. Correct muscle development is very important. It makes them stronger and improves their fitness. Footballers need strong hearts and good lungs to run around a football pitch for 90 minutes. After lunch, they all go outside to train. They warm up and stretch their muscles before they practice their skills. They practice passing and shooting before they play a short five-a-side match. For these students, it's a lot of fun because they're doing what they love to do. But it's also good preparation for their future career. Some are going to work in the health industry. Some will be nutritionists and teach people about healthy food. Some will be physiotherapists and help people with injuries. Some are going to become coaches to teach others how to play football. And some might even become famous footballers. This is Blenheim Palace, one of the most famous old houses in the world. John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough, started building the house in 1705. The name Blenheim comes from a famous battle he won in 1704. The house took 17 years to build, but the Churchill family have lived here since then. On the 30th of November 1874, Winston Churchill, the famous British Prime Minister, was born here. His grandfather was the 7th Duke of Marlborough, so Winston and his family often stayed at Blenheim. In fact, the young Churchill asked his wife to marry him here in the Temple of Diana in 1908. Today, his grave is less than 2 miles away in the small village of Blaydon. On the 1st of April 1950, the palace opened to the public. And since then, the family hasn't lived in the main house. Today, it's a major tourist attraction. It has been a World Heritage Site since 1987. It's easy to see why. The house has got 187 rooms. There's a huge entrance hall with beautiful paintings. There are living rooms and bedrooms full of antique furniture, including beds, lamps, tables, chairs, and clocks. Outside, the grounds are huge. These are the palace's formal gardens, which have been here since the 1920s. These include the water terrace, with its beautiful fountain and statues, and the Italian garden. Beyond the gate is 2,000 acres of parkland, a large man-made lake, and the Column of Victory with its tall statue of the first Duke of Marlborough. Blenheim Palace is full of history. Many famous people have lived here, and for over 3 centuries, it has been one of the most important houses in Britain.